Welcome to No Nonsense Guy SA.
Hey guys, this is your No Nonsense Guy with a special Saturday night report that I have to give kudos and all tell you about it. So last night while we were sleeping, something happened in Venezuela, and let's not mince words here, okay? For years, the world has watched Nicolás Maduro run like a narco-state, exporting drugs and misery, okay? While the so-called international community offered nothing but strongly worded letters and a little bit of hand-wringing. So last night, the nonsense ended. The US military went in, took out the trash, and actually captured Maduro. You just got to love Donald Trump, okay? This wasn't a diplomatic ballet, okay? It was decisive. There was no nonsense action and should actually serve as a wake-up call to every tin pot dictator out there. We won't mention any names, especially of people that run governments like they are the majority and they're not. Anyway, forget the unprecedented talk, okay? What was truly unprecedented was the decades of inaction against a regime that was actively destabilizing the region and flooding the world with drugs. Maduro wasn't a president, hey? Make no mistake. He was a cartel boss with a presidential title, okay? So the US military strike was a necessary surgical intervention. They didn't send in diplomats. They sent in Delta Force. The goal was simple. Remove the criminal head of state and stop the flow of narco-terrorism. Easy. This is a clear example of a foreign policy that prioritizes national security and decisive action over the endless woke debates about sovereignty and non-interference. When a regime becomes a criminal enterprise, you treat it like one. Hashtag. So now, watch the predictable reaction, the usual suspects, okay? The European Union, United Nations, and every left-leaning commentator are already lining up to condemn the action. They're talking about international law and restraint. You know what? I almost want to say if that, but yeah, let's say if that, because where does the restraint and the international law come in when these bastards, okay, are pushing drugs and killing our kids, okay? Let me translate that for you. They're upset because a strong nation, led by a strong president, actually acted to solve a problem instead of just talking about it. They demand proof of life for the dictator who's actually starved his own people and exported crime. Proof of life. Sheesh. This is the woke hypocrisy on full display. They care more about the feelings of a captured tyrant than the suffering of the Venezuelan people or the security of an American border. This, my friends, is a moment where we need to ignore the noise and recognize a clear victory for common sense and security. So, the last time the US did something like this was in Panama. That was about drugs and dictatorship. And this is the same story, just a bigger scale. The precedent set here is not a dangerous one. It's a necessary one. It tells every corrupt criminal regime that if you actively threaten the security of a major power, hey, you're going to be held accountable, Mr. Ramaphosa. Oh, did I say that out loud? Maduro is now facing a U.S. criminal trial, right? As he's entitled to. This is not a political trial, it's a criminal one. He will be tried as the cartel boss he is. This is a kind of no-nonsense justice that the world needs more of. It bypasses the corrupt local courts and delivers a clear message. Crime doesn't pay, especially when you're the one running the country. Die poppe sal dance, as we say in South Africa. And here's the crucial part for us in South Africa. Look at the speed and decisiveness of this action by Donald Trump. Now look at the endless, slow motion disaster of the ANC and the Pala scandal. The asbestos contract, Paul Mashetile's big house. We have a political elite here that actually believes it's untouchable. Just like Maduro said. The lesson from Venezuela is simple. Accountability is not optional. When a government fails to govern, when it prioritizes corruption over its citizens, the consequences must be swift and severe. Look what's happening in Iran at the moment. And I pray for and I bless those dear Persian people that have finally stood up like we need to stand up here. We need a political system that is equally decisive in dealing with our own internal narco-states and corrupt leaders. We need to stop the endless talking and also start demanding action. So, while the woke crowd is busy crying out, sovereignty, sovereignty, the reality is that the criminal regime has been dismantled. Donald Trump says, you're welcome, world. This is a win for security. This is a win for stability. This is a win for the Venezuelan people who deserve better. Tell me what you think. Was this the right move? Should other nations follow its example? Let me know in the comments. If you're tired of all the excuses and ready for a dose of reality, hit that like button and subscribe. Let's get serious about this world. And as always, like I say, may the good Lord guide you when you use the awesome brain that he gave you. God bless, guys. Take care.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the presenter and are exercised under the rights to freedom of expression provided for in Section 16 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, 1996. These views do not represent, and may not be attributed to, any employer, company, affiliate, or sponsor associated with the presenter in a private or professional capacity. What that basically means is that if the Hawks come and raid my ass or try Anton Taylor, I will sue whoever in their very personal capacity. Yes, not the cost of taxpayers, you ignoramuses.